Hi boys and girls, today we're going to be making homemade pancakes. You can fill out your demonstration graphic organizer or the worksheet. Please follow along with the homemade pancakes recipe. First off, I'm going to go over all of the equipment we'll be using today. We're using a mixing bowl, some wax paper, thin spatula, the whisk, measuring spoons, dry measuring cups, the sifter, turner, a liquid measuring cup, some custard cups, and also you'll be using the electric griddle. Dry ingredients we'll be using today: flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt. The liquid ingredients we'll be using today: 1 cup of milk, 1 egg, and vegetable oil. Okay, so I'm going to prepare the counter by covering it with some wax paper. You lay the wax paper on the counter, and I'm going to place my medium-sized bowl right on top. That way, if I spill any ingredients, it's going to land on the wax paper and not all over the counter. So the first step tells us, in a medium-sized bowl, we're going to sift together the flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt. So that's all of our dry ingredients. So I'm going to measure out my flour. We're using 1 cup of all-purpose flour. So I'm going to spoon in my 1 cup of flour. Get a heaping cupful. And I'm going to level that off. And the directions say to sift all the dry ingredients. So I'm going to take my sifter, place it above the mixing bowl, and I'm going to tilt the cup into the sifter and sift that flour right into the mixing bowl. Okay? That way, if you take a look, zoom in, the mesh screen will collect any lumps or clumps or hard pieces of flour that may have collected in the container. So I'm going to continue sifting the dry ingredients. Now I'm going to move on to my sugar, and we're using 1 tablespoon of sugar. So here's my tablespoon. Scoop out my 1 tablespoon, lightly tap to level that off. Again, pass that through the sifter. Baking powder, we're using also 1 tablespoon. I'm going to open the container up and scoop out the 1 tablespoon. You want to level off the baking powder right back into the container. Again, I'm going to pour that through the sifter. You can even shake the sifter as well. And lastly, we're going to use ½ teaspoon of salt. I'm going to look for my ½ teaspoon measure. And again, I'm measuring away from the mixing bowl over the wax paper. So if I spill a little bit, it's going to go on the wax paper, not on the counter. I'm going to actually level that right onto the wax paper. Take my sifter and sift my salt. So I'm going to have you zoom in so you can see what granules were left inside my sifter. Now we have all of our dry ingredients, nice and fluffy, powdery, and air has been combined. Now all I'm going to do is take my whisk all of my dry ingredients together. Step 2 is adding our wet ingredients to the dry ingredients. So it says add milk, vegetable oil, and egg, and mix with a whisk until just combined. So I'm going to add my 1 cup of milk into the dry ingredients. We're adding 1 egg. So you want to beat the egg first in the custard cup, just to make sure no shells end up in the mixture. So we're going to take our whisk, or you can even use a fork at home, and beat the egg inside the custard cup. Okay, you want to check for no shells. I don't see any shells in the beaten egg, so I'm going to pour that in. Next, we're going to use 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. So as you can see, I poured some vegetable oil inside a custard cup, so it'll be easy for you just to scoop out the 2 tablespoons you need. So just tilt the custard cup just a little bit, scoop out the first tablespoon, pour that in, and again, tilt, scoop it out. There's your 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. And now we're going to whisk the wet ingredients with the dry ingredients until just combined. I want you to come and see what the pancake batter looks like. I'm scraping the sides of the bowl with the whisk. And you're going to combine everything all together until you just have a few clumps. Okay, that's going to lead to very fluffy and light pancakes. So at this point, our pancake batter is just combined and we're ready to start cooking our pancakes. Now it's time to start cooking our pancakes. And to cook our pancakes in class, we're going to be using the electric griddle. So first I'm going to go over how to use the electric griddle. The electric griddle is a cooking appliance that has an iron top that gets very hot. So you want to make sure once we turn the griddle on that you do not touch the metal on the griddle. Secondly, you want to make sure that the plastic surrounding the griddle is facing you so you don't get burned. Lastly, the cord that connects the griddle to the outlet should never be touching the metal on the griddle. That way the cord doesn't get damaged. Okay, so we're going to be preheating and cooking the pancakes at 375 degrees. To turn the griddle on, you can see that there's a dial here. And you're simply going to turn the dial from the off position, turn it to 375 degrees, which is between 350 and 400. And once the griddle is on, you see a light, an orange indicator light. That means the griddle has power and it's starting to preheat. So we're going to let that preheat for a few minutes, and then we're going to test to see if the griddle is ready to be heated. Before that, though, you want to make sure that you grease the griddle with a little bit of cooking spray. So you're just going to lightly spray the top of the griddle. If you don't have cooking spray at home, you can also use a little bit of butter. Okay, but generally, the griddles are non-stick surfaces, but we're going to grease the griddle just a little bit to make sure that the pancakes don't burn when they're cooking. At this point, we're going to test to see if the griddle is preheated. So I'm going to come over to the sink, wet my hands just a little bit, and I'm going to drop a few drops of water. You hear the sizzle, that means the griddle is ready to go. So you're going to take the 1/4 cup measure, and you're going to scoop out 1/4 cup at a time for each pancake. So I'm going to put anywhere between 3 to 6 pancakes on at a time. I'm going to tilt the bowl, wipe the excess off, place it on the griddle. Okay, so this round, I think I'm just going to get 4 pancakes on. Place that. Actually, I'm going to fit 5. So like I said, anywhere between 3 and 6 pancakes can be cooked on the griddle at a time. That'll save you time during class. And once the pancakes are cooking, you're looking for indicators on when to flip. So as you can see, there are little bubbles forming on the top of each pancake. And also you'll see edges around each pancake starting to rise. Okay? Once you see the bubbles and edges forming, you're going to take your spatula, go underneath the pancake and check for a light brown coloration. Once you see that golden brown, that light brown, you can flip your pancake. You're going to take the spatula, go all the way underneath your pancake, and give it a flip. Again, I'm checking for the light brown coloration, which I see. Go all the way underneath. And flip. It's okay if you make a little mess. Go all the way underneath. Flip. Get underneath. Quick flip. Underneath. I'm going to turn my wrist. Give it a flip. Besides checking for the golden brown color, what you can also do is make a little incision in the center of the pancake, which is a little hole, to make sure that the middle of the pancakes are dry. We don't have gooey, raw pancakes. So the pancakes take about a minute or 2 to cook on each side. So I'm going to give it another turn. So the pancakes are cooking evenly. Also notice I'm not pressing down on the pancakes because we want nice fluffy pancakes. And once we see the golden coloration on both sides, we check the center for dry pancakes. You can take them off the griddle. Okay, you'll have a plate for you and your group members to divvy up your pancakes. I'm going to repeat this process until I run out of all my pancake batter. When you're done cooking your pancakes, you want to make sure that you finished using the griddle properly. So you need to turn the griddle to the off position. You know the griddle is off when the orange light is no longer showing. It's no longer on. You also want to disconnect or unplug the griddle from the outlet. And lastly, you're going to take your spatula, the turner, and lightly scrape off any excess batter from the top of the griddle. When you scrape the excess batter, notice there's a little hole in the griddle that you're going to scrape the excess batter into. Okay? This piece of the griddle comes out and acts like a little mini garbage can. So any excess batter goes into the garbage. And you and your group will wash this piece. And I will take care of wiping the griddle down for you. At this point, you can enjoy your pancakes.